Good evening to the Dr. Nazira. Today I will present the final assessment that submitting calculations. First, look at the question the question provided with an IP address block that is 172.16.0.0 and the prefix length is 20, and divide this block into the following subnets, that is subnet A 500 hosts, subnet B 200 hosts, subnet C 100 hosts, and subnet D 50 hosts. And for each subnet, we need to calculate the subnet mask, that is prefix length, and network address, broadcast address, and the usable IP range. Okay, now start with the subnet A 500 hosts. Start with the subnet mask. For the subnet mask calculation, we need to find for the 500 hosts, that need to find the closest value of power of 2 to fit into the 500 hosts, and cannot choose the below than the 500. So, and see the table of then that I written down, that the 2 power of 9 that contain that have a 512 that can be fit to use for the 500 hosts. So when we get the value of the power, so we can use the formula that 32 minus 9 to get the prefix length. And why we using 32 minus the power value? Because the IPv4 address are always 32 bits long. So we will use the formula that 32 minus 9, and we will get the 23. So that's the prefix length. And why we use the formula of power of 2? Because the IP address and the subnet are word in the binary form. Next, for the network address. The network address, for calculating the network address, we need to convert to the decimal number of the IP address to the binary first. So we can use the formula of power of 2 to calculate it. So when we need to find the value of 172, we can see the formula that because convert to binary, the IP address convert to binary only have the 8 bits of data. So we can look the 2 power of 0 until the 2 power of 7. So for the 172, we can use the value 128 plus 32 plus 8 and plus 4 to get the value of 172. So the number of use, we can put 1, and the rest of the number don't use, put 0. So, and the 16, we can put 1 at the 16, and other rest of using 0. And 0.0 also, X bit data are all 0. So, and to calculate the network address, we need to see the prefix length first. That prefix length is 23, so we need to keep the first 23 bits, and after 23 bits data, the rest of the number need to change to the 0 value. So we will get the 172.16.0.0. That's the network address. Next, the broadcast address. Same, we need to convert it into the binary first, and we will keep the first 23 bits data, and after the 23 bits, we need to change to the 1, to a value 1 for the broadcast address. So we will get the 172.16.1.255 for the broadcast address. For the usable IP range, we need to calculate the first usable address and the last usable address first to know the usable IP range. So we need to, for the first usable, we need to use the network address to add a one, to plus a 1 bit into it. So we use the network address and convert it into binary first and plus 1 bit, so we can get the answer for it. And for last usable, we will need to use the broadcast address to minus 1 bit, so we convert it to binary first and minus 1 bit, then we will get the answer. So the usable IP range for this subnet is 172.16.0.1 until 172.16.1.254. Next for subnet B 200 host. First, next we will use the new address that starting address is the 172.16.2.0, and why we using it is because the last IP address from the subnet A that we calculate is the 172.16.1.255. So we need to start the new subnet calculation that we will need to use the last IP address that calculate from the subnet A, and that is broadcast address and plus 1 bit to the broadcast address. So we need to convert it to a binary first and plus 1 bits, then we will get the starting IP that is 172.16.2.0 for this subnet B calculation. Now for the subnet mesh calculating, so we got the 200 hosts, so we need to find the closest value for this host. So we cannot choose the lowest, so we must choose the highest, that is the 2 power of 8 that have contain 256 value. So after we get the power value, so we can use the prefix length formula, that is 32 minus power value 8, so we can get the 24 prefix length for this subnet. Next for the network address. The network address, same as before, we need to convert it to the binary first, and now because the prefix length is 24, we need to keep the first 24 bits data, and after the 24 bits the rest of the number need to change to a 0. So the network address for this subnet will be 172.16.2.0 slash 24 prefix length. For the broadcast address, we need to convert the IP address into the binary first. So after convert, and we need to keep the first 24 bits data, and after 24 bits the rest of the number we need to change to 1. So the broadcast address for this subnet will be 172.16.2.255. And for the user IP range, we need to use the network address that is from the network address and convert it into the binary and plus 1 bits into it, and we will get the answer for the first usable IP address. And the last usable IP address, that is from the broadcast, we need to use the broadcast address and minus 1 bit, and we will get the usable IP range, that is 172.16.2.1 until 172.16.2.254, and that's for the subnet B calculation. Next for the subnet C that have 100 hosts. So the starting IP, we will use the new one that is we need to use the subnet B broadcast address to plus 1 bits of data. So we need to convert the broadcast address from the subnet B into the binary first, and we need to plus 1 bits of data. So we will get the starting IP that is 172.16.3.0. Next, for the subnet mask calculation for subnet C. So we got the 100 hosts, and we need to find the closest value fit fit into the 100 hosts. So we need to find the highest one, that is 128, that from the 2 power of 7. After that, we can use the formula for the prefix length, that is 32 minus power value 7. So we can get the 25 equal to 25 prefix length. For the network address, we need to convert the IP address from the decimal to a binary first, and we need to keep the first 25 bits of the data. So after the 25 bits, the rest of the number need to change to a 0. So the network address for this subnet is 172.16.3.0. Next, for the broadcast address that we need to convert the IP address into the binary first, and then we need to keep the 25 bits of the data, and the rest of the 25 bits we need to change to 1. So after that, we will get the broadcast address that equal to 172.16.3.127. Next, for the user by IP range for the subnet C. So we need to use the network address and convert it into binary. So, and after that we need to plus 1 bits into it. So we will get the first usable, and for the last usable address, we need to use the broadcast address that we calculate and minus 1 bit into it. So we need to change to the binary first and minus 1 bit. So, and after that we get the final answer, that is usable IP range for this subnet is 172.16.3.1 and until the 172.16.3.126. And next, for the subnet D that contain 50 hosts, and for the starting IP address we need to use the subnet C broadcast address and plus 1 bits. So when we use the broadcast address for the subnet C and convert it into a binary first, and then plus 1 bits into it. So when we plus 1 bits, because the last 8 bits of the subnet C are 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and after we plus 1 bits, and it will become 1, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0, 0, 0. So why become this? Because when we plus 1, because in the binary format only have 0 and 1. So after we plus 1, it, it becomes 0 first, and add forward into it. So after that we will get, after for the and go to a 0 and plus 1, then we will get this answer. So the starting IP for the subnet D is 172.16.3.128. Okay, for the subnet mask calculation, we need to because we need to find closer value for the 50 hosts. So we will use the 2 power of 6 that contains the 64 value to fit to a 50 host. So we after we get the power formula power value, we need to use the prefix length formula that is 32 minus 6 power value is 6, so 32 minus 6 equal to 26 for the prefix length for this subnet. Next, for the network address, same, we need to use the IP address and convert into the binary first, and we need to keep the first 26 bits data, and after 26 bits we will need to change to zeros, and the final answer will get the network address for the this subnet is 172.16.3.128. And for broadcast address, we need to convert it into a binary first. So after convert, we need to keep the first 26 bits of data, and after 26 bits data, the rest of the number need to change to 1. So the final answer will get the 172.16.3.191 for the broadcast address. And for usable IP address for this subnet, we will use the first the calculator first usable first. So using the network address plus 1 bits, so convert it into a binary first and plus 1 bits, and we will get the answer. So the last usable, we use the broadcast address and minus 1 bits. So the final answer will be usable IP address for this subnet D will add will at the 172.16.3.129 until 172.16.3.190. Okay, that's all from the presentation for the subnetting calculations. Thank you for listening.